To me, my X-Men.
X-Men 97 is finally here, and I'm happy to report that it was actually pretty good. I know there was a lot of complaints when seeing the trailer. I myself made a video expressing some of my concerns, which still could be the case. This is only the first 2 episodes. However, from what I've seen so far, I am hopeful that at least season 1 and probably season 2 as well are going to be very well received. So today I'm reviewing episode 1 titled To Me, My X-Men. But first, I want to give a very short recap of the end of X-Men the Animated Series. So in the finale of that series titled Graduation Day, it saw Henry Gyrick, a notable former government official who in the series helped Bolivar Trask start up the Sentinel program. He was trying to get ratified a mutant containment bill in the UN, and Charles Xavier was there to argue against him. Gyrick fired some sort of energy beam at Xavier, and the effects of that beam, combined with this stress that Xavier had been dealing with due to his strenuous campaigning for mutant rights, caused him to have a psychic attack. So if you watched the film Logan, you might remember that Charles Xavier, due to his old age, would have these random attacks where he couldn't control his psychic abilities, and it was debilitating for everyone around him. That's basically what happened in the UN building. So the X-Men took him back to the mansion and realized that he was dying. They convinced Magneto to use his electromagnetic powers to boost the electromagnetic waves of Xavier's mind to send a signal to the Shi'ar Empress Lilandra, who is also Charles Xavier's soulmate. She came to pick him up and said that he would live, but he would have to stay on the Shi'ar homeworld. And so this series picks up some months later. The X-Men are still out there helping mutants. In fact, this episode revolves around them meeting Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot, who was originally a New Mutant in the comics. And he basically has the ability to absorb solar energy and enhance his own strength. But the X-Men save Roberto from the Friends of Humanity, who have also gotten their hands on some Sentinel technology. And through their government liaison, Valerie Cooper, the X-Men find out that Bolivar Trask is back, as is Master Mold. And Master Mold is kind of like it's a Sentinel that creates other Sentinels, but it creates them far faster than a normal human-run factory would. And actually, in X-Men the Animated Series, Master Mold kidnapped Bolivar Trask and Henry Gyrick and tried to use them as like slave labor. So I'm not sure why Bolivar Trask decided to work with Master Mold again, but the X-Men do manage to defeat Master Mold, and it seems like that threat is contained for now at least, though the Friends of Humanity do still have advanced weaponry. By the end of the episode, Roberto decides to go back home as he doesn't really have any interest in fighting the good fight, fighting for mutant rights. He's very flippant about the entire situation. He believes that everyone should live and let live, although he himself kind of rejects his own nature and in fact hasn't told his parents that he's a mutant. I doubt that this is the last time we'll be seeing him, for reasons which I'll get into in another video. But the episode ends with Scott and Jean talking about leaving the X-Men because Jean is actually pregnant. Now, I'm not sure exactly how many months it's been since Xavier left or how long ago they would have conceived a child, but Jean is basically about to come to term, so it must have been a while ago. But as they're about to announce to the X-Men that they're going to leave, they find Magneto in Xavier's study. He has Xavier's will, and it says that Magneto is to take over the X-Men. Now, I did mention earlier that Charles is still probably alive on the Shi'ar homeworld, but to the people of Earth, he's dead. So they've gotten a death certificate for him and everything. Even Henry Gyrick believes that he killed Charles Xavier when he shot him with that ray. So obviously this is a huge surprise to the X-Men. They're all very concerned and offended and angry at why Xavier would have made this choice. And in fact, having just watched the finale of the series last night, it does seem like an odd choice given what was happening, because Magneto was the leader of the Genoshan Island and was about to lead a mutant revolution against the world. So Xavier deciding that he should lead the X-Men and Magneto accepting is kind of odd. So that's a quick rundown of the plot of episode 1, but I also wanted to talk about the X-Men themselves. So a lot of the X-Men from this series have returned to include Scott, Jean, Storm, Beast, Wolverine, Jubilee, Rogue, and Gambit, as well as Morph and Bishop. Now, why Bishop is there isn't revealed to us, and I think that's an odd choice because every time that Bishop shows up in the original animated series, there's a specific reason for it. meaning something happened in his future, so he goes back in time to help the X-Men prevent it from happening. He goes back, he finds out his future changed and it's something even worse, so he goes back in time to help the X-Men change it, and then he goes back again, finds out it's even worse, and goes back to the X-Men to help change it, and so on and so on. It's kind of repetitive, but it also made for fairly interesting storytelling. And I wonder if Xavier going to the Shi'ar planet is the reason for Bishop joining the team. But there are also some fairly major casting changes. They made it sound like the majority of the cast would reprise their roles, but that's not really the case. Scott Summers they had to replace because the previous voice actor passed away. The voice actress for Jean they changed even though they have her voicing Valerie Cooper. So already you have two major X-Men who don't have the same voices. The only ones who do are Wolverine, Beast, Rogue, and Storm. So everyone else, Scott, Jean, Morph, Bishop, Jubilee, Charles Xavier, Magneto are all voiced by different actors. And Charles Xavier's voice actor, I hate it. I mean, the only instance we got of his voice in episode 1 was Morph posing as Xavier, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to be Xavier's voice actor, and he just sounds silly. It sounds like a bad Xavier impression. Speaking of, the dialogue definitely has less of the Chris Claremont feel that the original animated series had, and in some ways reflects more of that modern Marvel entertainment type of dialogue, unfortunately. But for the most part, it's okay. The animation I complained about when I reviewed the trailer, and I still don't really care for it. Half of it feels like Flash animation, and during the action scenes, it feels like the animation from, I don't remember what the animation is called, but I remember it being in that show Iron Man Armored Adventures. So even though complaints about the original series animation are justified, I feel like this isn't a vast improvement given that this is 30 years later. And I mentioned in my review of that trailer that in terms of anime, that I think there was a sweet spot in the early to mid 2000s and maybe early 2010s when animation was really good. And then they started getting kind of lazy and switching animation styles. And I think X-Men 97 is a reflection of that. There were a number of comic book and original animated series Easter eggs. For instance, there's a book that has Jay Leelwald. I probably mispronounced that, but he worked on the original series. You see a quick shot of Callisto and Leech from the Morlocks. You see a wanted poster, I believe, of the character Marrow, who is basically immune to creates bone-like protrusions from her body. There's the Daily Bugle paper with a reference to Spider-Man, which I talked about in the trailer review. And there's also a mention of the mutant character Goldballs. As Jubilee is guessing Robert DaCosta's powers, she asks him if he creates gold balls. There's a character in the comics named Goldballs, and he literally just produces golden balls from his skin. But if you guys noticed any more Easter eggs in episode 1 that I forgot to cover, please let me know in the comments section below. There is a lot going on in episode 2, which is why I decided to do 2 separate reviews. So my review of episode 1 should hopefully come out the day of, and the episode 2 review will come out the next day. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so that you never miss out on a new video. Thanks for watching.